Coming up next at 10.
His arm was like dangling from his body. It was grayish. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like freaking out.
A 4-month-old severely injured and a mother blaming a South Florida daycare. Tonight, one daycare worker is under arrest. The night team live on the scene.
A somber ceremony for the victims of a bloody office massacre. Survivors, family, and friends remembering the victims.
Hikers on the edge of disaster, the risky rescue nearly turning to tragedy.
And all of a sudden I saw that much of his hand knocked on the window 3 times.
A Florida man trapped in his car under tons of snow, and the amazing survival story that follows.
2 koala bears stolen from the zoo, now home safe after a bizarre koala caper.
And it was a year where the little guy stood tall against the big guy. From the citrus canker controversy to the deadly tire troubles. We're looking back at tonight's edition of 7's Top 7 Stories of 2000.
And breaking news from North Miami tonight, where a tanker truck has caught fire, shutting down parts of the eye. Hazmat crews are now on scene. We will have the very latest. I'm Holly Herbert in for Lori Jennings.
And I'm Rick Sanchez. All the day's news and the latest breaking story. We'll have it right here, first at 10.
Now, live from the news station. This is 7 News at 10.
And good evening, everyone. More on that developing story out of North Miami, where a tanker truck has somehow flipped and burst into flames.
You're looking at the pictures there. Now, our crews moments ago were told to leave the scene. This is what they were able to tape before leaving that area. Let's tell you where it is. It's I-95 southbound near 163rd Street. Now, those of you familiar with South Florida know that that would involve the area of the Golden Glades interchange. So it could involve anything from 441 to the Florida Turnpike, to 826 eastbound and westbound. We don't know exactly what lanes are being affected, but we imagine it could be a bevy of them right now.
It is not known exactly how this accident happened, but we do know that hazmat crews are on the scene. It's not clear if there are any injuries, but we will continue following this developing story.
And as we get more information, we'll share it with you immediately. Meanwhile, a South Florida mother picking up her baby from daycare only to find the little boy is suffering from a broken arm.
And police seem to think it was no accident. In fact, they are charging a daycare worker with aggravated child abuse.
And I-Team's Brian Andrews is standing by now. He's in Homestead with the very latest information on this story. Brian, what do you got?
Well, police tell me that this daycare worker has been here at the 8th Street Daycare Center in Homestead for 8 years. She's cared for hundreds of children. Tonight, she's accused of abusing one of the children in her care and charged with aggravated child abuse. 4-month-old Christopher all bandaged up with a broken left arm.
His arm is broke here. Not even at the shoulder, nothing. It's between the elbow and the shoulder, right here.
Homestead police say daycare worker Deyanira Rebolledo is the person who broke Christopher's arm in a case of aggravated child abuse.
This child went through a lot of pain, and I'm just angry. I'm angry that how can you do this to my beautiful baby? He's a happy baby.
Police say the abuse and bodily harm happened at the 8th Street Daycare Center in Homestead a week ago Tuesday. Christopher's mother says she discovered the problem while changing his diaper after they got home.
His arm was like dangling from his body. It was grayish. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like freaking out really bad.
Christopher's parents took him to Miami Children's Hospital for treatment. The hospital got state investigators involved who turned over the case to Homestead police.
I don't care if he was a fussy baby. There is absolutely no explanation for her to have done this to my child.
No one from the 8th Street Daycare Center could be reached for comment. Friends of Deyanira Rebolledo gathered outside the police department while she was detained, didn't want to talk. As for little Christopher, he's on medication, and doctors say his injury will take at least a month to heal.
I thank God, justice has been done, because anything that's done in the light, in the dark, will come to the light, because I know there's no way she could have done this to my child and get away with it.
Christopher's mother says she's hired a lawyer. She also says on the day that her child's arm was broken, she came here. She says there's a video camera in every room of this daycare center. But on that day, the daycare center owner told her the cameras weren't working. In Homestead, Brian Andrews, 7 News 19.
A line of fire is out tonight after burning dangerously close to some buildings in South Florida. The grass fire spreading quickly along 209th Avenue and 302nd Street this afternoon. 7 Skyforce over the smoky scene as flames burned 15 acres. Crews did manage to keep the flames from spreading to any of the buildings.
A wreck in the waters off the Florida Keys. 7 Skyforce over the scene. This is a Jewfish Creek Canal. That's near Key Largo. The driver of a speedboat experiences some steering problems and then loses control of the vessel. The boat ends up in some mangroves, all tangled up. No one was hurt, and they were able to tow it out. A bird heist. 7 News was first to tell you about bandits throwing a boulder through the window of the brother and sister pet shop in Sweetwater and then taking off with some pricey animals. It's not the first time this business has been hit, by the way. Thieves broke into the store back in October and ripped off an exotic bird from Indonesia. It was worth $1,200. Officials say they're going to do whatever it takes to try and catch these guys.
They took like 6 birds. Probably cost like $10,000.
We'll deal with it like we dealt with the last one. We caught them, and hopefully we catch these people too.
The parrots alone are worth $5,000. Police are searching tonight for the suspects.
A somber memorial tonight for the victims of an office ambush in Massachusetts. 7 people gunned down at work are being remembered at a church used as a shelter during the rampage. The Night Team's Craig Stevens has the story.
They came to St. Joseph's Church this night seeking comfort from those who know their anguish. Cameras were kept at bay, the service private. The mourning, however, increasingly public. Outside Edgewater Technology, a growing memorial of flowers and messages signs Tuesday's horror strikes at the very heart of this small New England town.
I don't know, I feel for these people. You know, they're so young.
Few believe this could have happened here, in this bedroom community 20 miles outside Boston. But prosecutors say 42-year-old Michael McDermott was bent on shattering that quiet Tuesday morning, singling out his victims, they argue, the company's human resources manager and accountants, who recently told him they plan to withhold money from his paychecks to pay back taxes owed the IRS.
We never get training in an event of this magnitude. Obviously, you can't realistically train for something this tragic.
St. Joseph's ties to this tragedy run deep. One of the victims, Jennifer Bragg Capabianco, was married here 2 years ago by Father Michael Steele, who presided over the Thursday service. Capabianco leaves behind a 10-week-old daughter, Eve, and husband, Jeff.
I said, focus on Eve. She's your child. And I said, you'll get through this. It will be difficult, but you'll get through it, Jeff.
Also remembered, 29-year-old Craig Wood. The New Jersey native's father says his son decided to stop by the office that fateful morning before heading home for Christmas. Paul Marceau, a divorced father of 2 daughters, an avid cyclist and amateur photographer. And Cheryl Troy, who enjoyed scuba diving off Cape Cod and spoiling her nieces and nephews.
And there were, of course, 3 additional victims who were also memorialized at this evening's service. Meanwhile, the CEO of Edgewater Technology announced this evening the creation of a fund to assist the families of the victims. The company remains closed for business. The suspect remains held behind bars, charged with 7 counts of murder. He's being held without bail. In the Newsplex, Craig Stevens, 7 News Night Team.
All right, Craig, tonight the Oklahoma City bomber has been granted his death wish. Timothy McVeigh asking a federal judge to end his appeals process and execute him once and for all. Well, today the judge granted McVeigh's wish after asking him directly if he made this decision voluntarily and competently. McVeigh was convicted of murder back in 1995 after bombing the Oklahoma City Federal Building and killing 168 people. The judge has given McVeigh until January 11th to possibly change his mind.
More violence in the Middle East hours after another peace summit is canceled. 2 bombings in Tel Aviv and the Gaza Strip, killing 2 Israelis and injuring dozens more. The blasts forcing Israel to close off the West Bank and Gaza Strip to Palestinians, making it impossible for them to get to work. Leaders from the 2 sides canceled today's meeting in Egypt to discuss a U.S.-backed peace proposal, saying they need more clarification before they can make a decision.
President-elect George W. Bush back in Washington. After a short family vacation in Florida, he is now concentrating on his administration once again and has announced another member of his cabinet. Mr. Bush has chosen Donald Rumsfeld to serve as his Secretary of Defense. Rumsfeld is a veteran of 4 Republican administrations and has served as Secretary of Defense under President Ford.
The results from the 2000 census are out tonight, revealing a population boom over the past decade. 281 million people now live in the United States. That's 33 million more than in 1990. And that means some significant shifts in the way congressional seats are divided among the 50 states. Several states are gaining seats in the House of Representatives. Florida will pick up 2 House seats, as well as Arizona and, surprisingly, Georgia. States losing seats include New York and Pennsylvania, as well as several Midwestern states. Experts say, on the whole, there's a general move out of the Midwest.
No field, no pads, and certainly no referees, but that didn't stop a clash from breaking out between the Sugar Bowl foes, the University of Miami and the University of Florida. We're talking about football players from both teams running into each other in New Orleans' Bourbon Street. Then a confrontation quickly turns into a brawl, I should say. The night team's Mike DePasquale is live tonight. He's in the Newsplex with the details. What happened, Mike?
Well, it's being called everything from a brawl to a little pushing and shoving to a minor verbal confrontation. Different people apparently saw different things when UM and Florida players got together off the field last night in New Orleans. According to eyewitness reports on Bourbon Street last night, as many as 40 players from both teams were involved in a fight. One report said a UM player poured beer on a Gator player.
The information I've got from everyone, our players were not instigating anything.
But New Orleans police say they did detain 2 Gator players, although neither was charged. And published accounts say Florida defensive lineman Alex Brown emerged with a welt below one eye, and another Gator player had blood on his shirt. Today, both coaches downplayed the incident.
Unless the police or somebody come forward and said our guy sucker punched somebody, I don't know what you can do about it.
It's a little bit of an overblown situation that we didn't have anybody arrested. We didn't have anybody, in any kind of an altercation that would lead to any kind of, disciplinary action.
Now, both coaches, as you might expect, don't want this incident to be a distraction for next Tuesday's Sugar Bowl showdown. Davis and Spurrier may downplay it a bit, but it will be talked about until both teams actually do battle on the playing field. From the Plex, Mike DePasquale, 7 News Night Team.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike.
And still ahead tonight from the night team, we are following that developing story in North Miami where a hazmat crews are on the scene right now trying to put out a tanker fire.
We understand there's some live pictures coming in now. Our crews are in place. There they are. There you can see some fire officials trying to put this thing out, but it will not be an easy task because it is a tanker. We suspect it involves some type of fuel, possibly gasoline. Here's some information you need to know. I-95 has been shut down in both directions, north and southbound, all the way from Miami Gardens Drive to 95th Street in Miami. Again, Miami Gardens Drive, which stretches all the way to the Aventura area, southbound to 95th Street around North Miami. Northbound and southbound. We'll keep you up to date on this story.
Also ahead tonight, hikers dangle on the edge of disaster after veering off a trail. The dramatic pictures ahead.
A Florida man trapped in his car for more than 2 weeks after being stranded by snow. The amazing story of survival is just ahead.
Then winter weather paralyzes parts of the South, leaving thousands of drivers stranded and then jailed. We'll explain.
And aren't they cute? These are koala bears. They were stolen, though, from a California zoo. An anonymous tip has led police to the missing marsupials. Isn't that fun to say? We'll have the latest on this koala caper.
She has been called trouble on the set, but now Shannon Doherty is in some legal trouble herself.
And it was the year of David versus Goliath, and in many cases, David won in the citrus canker controversy to the fears of driving Firestone tires. Don't miss tonight's edition of 7's Top 7 Stories of the Year 2000. This and more when the big show comes back at you.
7 News brought to you in part by Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection.
We do have some more pictures and now some more information to share with you as well. First, the very latest pictures are coming in. You are looking at them. These are pictures now from the ground, the very first that we've been able to share with you. As you can see, the fire is still burning, and now we're told it wasn't just a tanker involved in this, but several cars that may have gotten in its way. Among those, a van and a car, at least. So 3 vehicles accounted for now, a van, a car, and the tanker. We imagine there may be some injuries involved, but we don't know exactly what they are. There you see a different perspective of the scene that's playing out right now, southbound on I-95. somewhere near 163rd Street. All of I-95 is shut down, though, in North Miami, all the way from 95th Street north to Miami Gardens Drive. As we get more information on the story and as our crews get into place, we will soon be joining them live. Meanwhile, let's move on to other news of the night. Tonight, hikers dangling and in serious danger. This is a real cliffhanger that nearly ends in tragedy after the rescue goes terribly wrong. Holly's moved over to the Satellite Center with more on this hair-raising pictures that she's about to share with you. Holly.
Well, Rick, the hikers are not the only ones lucky to make it off that cliff. At one point, the rescue took a pretty dramatic turn after rescuers lost their footing and the rope they were dangling on started spinning out of control.
Rescue crews and 2 hikers with their life on the line try to get off the steep, unstable cliff near Los Angeles.
Oh, no. Ouch. Oh.
Reaction as the cliff suddenly crumbles underneath the rescuers' feet while trying to grab onto one of the hikers.
They could be in trouble here. There's a second paramedic on the skid. If they can get him up fast enough, that second paramedic can stop this swinging and try and stabilize those 2 victims. This is undoubtedly very painful and uncomfortable for both the victim and the paramedic that's on the line.
Fearing the 2 could black out, rescue crews inside the chopper decide to lower them down on a ledge instead of bringing them into safety.
To go ahead and effect what we call a short haul maneuver rather than bringing them up inside the aircraft, just moving them to a safe location on the ground.
The victim, a little shaken up, but glad to be back on solid ground.
The ledge fell away under his feet, and he only had the rope around my waist at that point, so the 2 of us slipped off the mountain, hung upside down, spun around in circles.
Token, his 2 children and a friend wandered off the path. He and his friend tried to climb the cliff, but got stuck halfway up.
We were hiking off trail, and we got to a ledge where it was too crumbly to go up and too crumbly to go down, and we couldn't move. So my daughter, who was on the ledge, ran down and called 911.
Rescue crews say Token and his friend did the right thing by not moving because they could have easily been hurt or worse. But the hikers say they made a big mistake veering off the trail.
And once everyone made it back to the top of the cliff, they were checked out by paramedics. The good news tonight, everyone is just fine. That's it from the Satellite Center. Rick?
All right, Holly, here's another story we're following tonight. A Florida man's survival, nothing short of miraculous after he's buried by snow and stranded for more than 2 weeks. The man trapped in his car under a blanket of snow for 16 days off of a rural road in Oregon. He lived on orange juice, a Coke, and a pack of M&Ms he happened to have in his car. He used a cigarette lighter to keep himself warm. 2 snowmobilers that happened to be in the area stumbled upon his car.
Down knocking on a car window.
And all of a sudden I saw that much of his hand knock on the window 3 times. And the first thing I thought of was, thank God there's somebody alive.
The man was treated at an Oregon hospital for hypothermia and released into the custody of military police. They say that he was AWOL from a military base in South Dakota, and as a result of that, he is now facing the possibility of being charged with desertion. Winter storms in Texas, stranding several hundred drivers, icy conditions on highways outside Dallas, forcing many to stop, pull over, and in many cases, spend the night in their cars. The National Guard using Humvees and all-terrain vehicles to bring gas and food to trapped drivers and to take them temporary shelters. One of those shelters was a jail.
2 teenagers under arrest tonight in connection with a koala caper at the San Francisco Zoo. The koalas stolen from the zoo Tuesday. Police say the suspects broke into the exhibit through a rooftop skylight. An anonymous tip, though, led police to a home this morning where they found the animals unharmed.
I called a lot of zoo people. There was just a lot of overjoyed people when they said, "We found them. We have a house surrounded."
The teens have been charged with burglary, possession of stolen property, and grand theft. Police say the teens wanted to give the female koalas to their girlfriends to impress them.
And once again, we're following a developing story that could affect a whole lot of people on this night who are trying to drive on I-95. Here's the updated information. We're now being told apparently they've limited the area of closure. If you're going northbound on I-95, you will be allowed to exit on 135th Street or 151st Street. Those are the exits just before 163rd Street, of course. If you're going southbound on I-95, you're going to be asked to get off on the Palmetto Expressway, and good luck from there trying to get back on I-95. All this is a result of what you're looking at. It's a tanker fire one apparently overturned near 163rd Street and the Golden Glades interchange. As we get more information, we're going to be sharing it with you.
Also ahead tonight, it was a year of the little guy taking on big business, from the citrus canker controversy to the battle against big tobacco. Don't miss tonight's edition of 7's Top 7.
Also ahead, I'll look back at some of the stranger problems that you had been calling Howard Finkelstein about. You're going to see what some of the solutions were in this edition of Help Me Howard.
Former 90210 actor Shannon Doherty finding herself on the wrong side of the law. We're back right after this.
7 News brought to you in part by Kia. It's about time everyone had a well-made car. See your local Kia dealer today or visit our website at www.kia.com.
The Millennium Year saw Joe Q. Public battling big business and winning.
Indeed, lawsuits from dangerous Firestone tires to invasive citrus canker inspectors and a verdict against the tobacco companies. Senior reporter Mark Ledner takes a look at the biggest stories of 2000 in tonight's edition of 7's Top 7.
You're a lawyer? Hell no. I hate lawyers. I just work for them.
There was a bit of buzz this year about Erin Brockovich, a Julia Roberts movie about little people taking on big corporations in court. It's the kind of story that began playing out for real in the case of Firestone, the giant tire maker. The little people were motorists in Florida and other hot weather locations who had been claiming that Firestone tires sometimes came apart, with tragic results. In early August, Firestone, under fire from years of lawsuits, a government investigation, and a compelling report on a Houston TV station, recalled nearly 7 million tires, most of them standard equipment on Ford Explorers. By year's end, about 150 deaths had been linked to Firestones. By year's end, Firestone was trying to put some of the blame on Ford. The lawsuits could cost Ford and Firestone billions, but they probably won't face anything like the record-setting, mind-boggling damage award Big Tobacco was socked with this year.
Total amount of punitive damages, if any, which you have assessed against the defendants. Philip Morris Incorporated, $73,960,000,000.
$145 billion. 6 jurors in Miami decided the major tobacco companies must pay a total of $145 billion in punitive damages to hundreds of thousands of Florida smokers made sick by a defective, addictive product, cigarettes.
We are disappointed today with the jury's verdict, but it was not unexpected in light of how these proceedings have been structured. The deck was truly stacked against us, and we understood that.
Stanley and Susan Rosenblatt, the Miami attorneys who waged the legal crusade against Big Tobacco, called the jury award justice.
It was a day of reckoning. 6 thoughtful, courageous Americans listened quietly and carefully to testimony for close to 2 years, and damn it, they did the right thing.
Still unknown, of course, how much of the $145 billion award, if any, will hold up on appeal. In another case of the little people against the big guys, South Floridians took on Big Citrus. The state agriculture department had dramatically stepped up its campaign to eliminate citrus canker disease in South Florida. Contract chainsaw crews began going into people's yards to destroy all citrus trees, even healthy ones, within 1,900 feet of a tree infected with canker. State officials claimed science was on their side, but they soon found out public opinion wasn't.
I thought I was protecting my property, which I was.
In Tamarack, a standoff ended with the arrest of an elderly man who allegedly grabbed a rifle in an effort to save his grapefruit tree from a chainsaw crew. When they came for Billy Getz's tree in Hollywood, he allegedly pulled a gun. A philosophy professor at the University of Miami organized mass protests. State officials, reacting to a public relations disaster, sent some friendly forest rangers down to South Florida to explain to homeowners why their beloved trees, even the healthy ones, had to be chainsawed and mulched. The tactic
failed to contain the outrage. And in November, Broward homeowners and public officials persuaded Judge J. Leonard Fleet to order the state to stop cutting down healthy trees.
These stories all continue into the new year. The Ford Firestone litigation likely will move into overdrive. Big Tobacco is appealing that record-setting damage award. State citrus officials are appealing Judge Fleet's order. And William Getz, charged with pulling the gun on the chainsaw crew, begins the year free on bond, pending trial for aggravated assault. Mark Lundner, 7 News.
And coming up tomorrow, the year in sports. Dan Marino gets a retirement party. Alonzo Mourning gets bad medical news, and Bobby Knight gets the axe. Mark takes us back tomorrow night at 10.
A Hollywood actor with a reputation for being a troublemaker in trouble with the law tonight. Shannon Doherty arrested. Los Angeles police pulling Doherty over on suspicion of drunk driving. The 29-year-old former 90210 star and current star of the TV show Charmed was given a sobriety test on the scene. Officers then took her to jail for a blood test. She's due in court next month.
All right, let's try and bring you up to date now on the very latest on what's going on off of I-95. This is the first time we've been able to look at this from a southbound perspective, and you can see the flyover there, which is, at least from what we can tell here, not being affected. I-95 proper is affected, though. Lanes still shut down both ways. This is a result of a tanker trailer that has apparently rolled over and then caught fire. We're on the scene. As we get more information, we'll be sharing it with you.
Also ahead tonight from the Newsplex, the bizarre world of Help Me Howard. Tonight, some of the more unique situations throughout the year and their solutions. We'll have the plethora of peculiar problems coming up.
And then frigid weather turning a water main leak to ice and giving drivers a major headache.
I'm health specialist Marilyn Mitchell. If just bending over to tie your shoes sends waves of pain through your body, we're going to show you what might be wrong. That's coming up in Doc Talk.
7 News, brought to you in part by South Florida Buick dealers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Delane Matthew. Coming up tomorrow morning on Today in Florida, we're going to take a look at those high-tech gadgets to help you shed those holiday pounds. It's coming up tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow on 7 News, looking to cook something quick and easy? A touch of teriyaki might do the trick. 7's Belkys Naray wraps up a simple salmon recipe with one of Bell Harbor's best chefs in A Bite with Belkys. Plus, legends retired.
I love you, Dolphin fans.
Champions celebrated. 7's Mark Lundner takes a look back at the year's most sensational sports stories in a special 7 News report. 7's Top 7. Tomorrow, starting first at 5 on 7 News.
You know, Help Me Howard, as you might expect, has had a long year of helping to solve people's problems.
But some are more unique than others. Tonight, the night team's Patrick Frazier and our legal expert, Howard Finkelstein, look back at the peculiar problems they solved over the past year.
Hello, everybody. I'm Patrick Frazier, along with Howard Finkelstein. And after working with Help Me Howard, there is one thing we can say with certainty. If you think your life takes some weird twists and turns, stick with us for a day, because we meet people with some problems you will not believe.
Like the woman who was about to lose her condo because she owed the association 4 cents. Or the customer who was being sued by an employee because he complained about the service that he got.
But Howard, we were able to cut it down to 7. And we begin with a family that was very close. In fact, they were too close. James and Monica Welch were nice. Too nice. They allowed James's sister and her 3 kids to move in. But 18 months later, when they asked them to move out of their home, they wouldn't go. After we got involved, James's sister got her own place, and James and his wife got what they wanted: privacy. Carmelita Grant lost her son and then couldn't find his grave.
It's not fair. That's unreasonable.
When her son Claudius died, his wife wouldn't tell Carmelita where she had buried him. Then the widow died and left written instructions that Claudius's grave be kept a secret forever. After we went to work, the cemetery granted the family's wish and took Carmelita to her son's grave.
Thank God now we have closure.
Next is a story that brings up the often used phrase, every parent's nightmare. Shadell wandered off from her preschool and was picked up by a man 2 blocks away. Luckily, he took her home. Pamela Gaines got her daughter and learned predictable kids are unpredictable.
I would never dream that Shadell would walk out of anywhere.
Too bad the kids couldn't walk away from this nanny.
It was like
I mean, I was hysterical. I had never felt so violated.
Amy Theismann used a hidden camera to watch her children's nanny take money from their piggy bank, drop her 14-month-old son, and leave her 3-month-old daughter on top of a table, struggling and shaking. Amy called police. They told her there was nothing they could do, so she called Help Me Howard.
The police were wrong. They should have charged her with theft. After we got involved, they did charge the nanny with theft, and the nanny agency returned the fee to Amy.
Our third most unusual call came from Tatiana Thompson. You may remember her as the stunning woman from Michael Jackson's video, The Way You Make Me Feel. Tatiana called because a webpage said for $24.95, you could see nude pictures of her.
I've never done anything pornographic.
True. When you enter the website, there are no nude pictures of Tatiana. The webpage was ordered to stop because what they were doing is illegal. What's happening to Margaret Daigle in our second most unusual story is not a crime, simply enough to make you cry.
He said, I have to send you for a liver transplant.
But Margaret learned a liver transplant costs $300,000. If you live in Dade, the county has a tax that pays for it. But as we learned, if you live in Broward like Margaret, there's no tax to pay for the transplant. You are doomed to die. In all the years we've done Help Me Howard, I don't think I've ever seen a story bother you as much as this one did. Why?
That's because it's frightening to realize that wealthy people can purchase a life-saving operation, but poor people, they're allowed to die.
But after Help Me Howard went to work for Margaret, good news. She's now in the process of getting a liver in a life-saving operation. And finally, the story that stunned us more than any involved Robert Kelson. Sadly, when he was 10 years old, the Broward school system came to a conclusion about him.
At the time, I was considered mild mental retarded.
By the time he was 36 years old, he came to us with a problem. We began by having him tested to prove he was mentally retarded, and the results shocked us.
He has an IQ somewhere between 92 and 96, and he clearly was not retarded.
After our story aired, the city of Oakland Park hired him. He's happy. He shed the label retarded and is getting a chance to do what most of us take for granted, just be normal. When you can help turn a life around like Robert's or save a life like Margaret's, that's really rewarding.
When you get to make a difference in someone's life, really make a difference, it's our honor. It is a privilege to help someone else.
And if you've got a problem, common, unusual, something you can't solve, contact us. We've got ways of helping you. With Howard Finkelstein, I'm Patrick Frazier, 7 News.
And more pictures right now from North Miami where that tanker truck has caught fire. It looks like crews have now finally gotten the upper hand on that fire and put everything out there. All of this is happening at 163rd Street on the I. North and southbound lanes in that area are all shut down, so that is definitely an area that you should avoid if you can tonight. Still no word yet if there have been any injuries. We'll keep you posted.
Also tonight, a water main break and a lackluster cleanup, leading to one frozen mess.
And I'm Brent Cameron in the Weather Center. All of the rain has now moved off to the east. We're quiet and mild, but the front has not yet crossed the area. And wait till you see how cool our temperatures are going to get in the days ahead. Get the long sleeves and jackets ready. Forecast ahead.
And I'm Mike DePasquale and ready. And coming up in sports, it was only a matter of time before changes were made with the last place Panthers. We have the details of today's comings and goings. And Minnesota and North Carolina State put on an exciting show in the Micron PC Bowl tonight. Pro Player highlights are coming your way in 7 Sports.
7 News brought to you in part by Dodge.
Back to the story that we've been telling you about since the beginning of the newscast. It's a tanker that is overturned and it's caused quite a mess off of I-95 near the Golden Glades interchange.
7's Craig Stevens has just arrived on scene with the very latest. Craig?
Mess would certainly be the operative word. We're along that access road you may be familiar with just alongside northbound 95. Let's get you to the pictures as I described to you what we believe has happened here earlier this evening. We're talking about a tanker truck that evidently was hit by a smaller car, and there you see the subsequent explosion as a result of that. And to make matters worse, after those two vehicles interacted, there was a van that also was swiped in some way, and it caught fire. Now, at this point, We do not know of any serious injuries. We do not believe anybody has been transported from the scene, but you've got to bear with us because, of course, this is a developing story, and you look at that and you got to find it hard to believe that nobody sustained a serious injury, but that is the guidance we're getting at this point, that there were no serious injuries. Now then, that was earlier. The fire is essentially out now, but if we can switch tapes, I want to show you what is the aftermath, and that is considerable traffic delays. You're going to want to avoid I-95 northbound, southbound, particularly in the Golden Glades area, for most of the night tonight. It's going to be some time before they clean this up. Specifically, I can tell you, if you're heading north, you're going to run into a road closure at 151st Street. If you're heading southbound on 95, you're going to run into trouble at Miami Gardens Drive, and you'll see where we've got a bit of a map there prepared for you. So again, heading northbound, it's closed at 151st Street. Heading southbound on 95 at Miami Gardens Drive. So your best effort, if you have to be out traveling north-south, is of course the Boulevard, Biscayne Boulevard, 441, or any other points further west or further east, because this is going to be a while before this is cleaned up. As you see, the fire is out at this point, but it's going to be some time before the area is cleared and traffic is able to flow smoothly once again. So that is the very latest as we have it in Northwest Miami-Dade. I'm Craig Stevens, 7 News Night Team.
Now, time for 7 weather with Brent Cameron.
And for us here in South Florida today, a southwest wind, earlier some sunshine, and that was all it took for quite a bit of warm weather around here. Our high 81 degrees. Now, in contrast, a dip in degrees, leaving behind a flood of trouble in places like Detroit. I want to show you this because water main breaking there, which quickly froze with those chilly temperatures in the Midwest. Drivers were forced to scrape their way out of the very slick situation. Back here, our only situation was a cold front, and there's the moisture in advance of it. That cold front just now crossing South Florida, and you will notice a drop in the thermometer when you get up and around tomorrow. Still dealing with, well, the clouds. The real precipitation has now moved off to the east. Looks like we're home free and in for a mostly dry night and certainly a dry day tomorrow. There's the moisture around low pressure, and around the Carolinas, it is rain, also some ice and some snow on the northern flank of that. The northeast quiet for now. That's a temporary trend because they're watching this other storm come out of the western Great Lakes by way of Minnesota, an area of low pressure that'll follow the path of the jet stream and that upper flow, and it is going to have access to a lot of moisture once it moves further east into the Atlantic waters as it moves around that big trough of low pressure. Around here, well, we have a front crossing that's going to allow our temperatures to drop dramatically the next couple of days, and those winds will send wind chills to places we don't see very much, the upper 20s and 30s for a couple of mornings, I think. Your forecast looks like this. As those winds right now are gusting to 20 miles per hour, we'll look for a low tonight in the lower 60s. Only a high of 69, brisk, and some gradual clearing tomorrow. Winds switch around from the west to the northwest. Note this cool weather for the weekend and into the first part of the new year. I'll see you again at 11 o'clock.
Okay, Brent, thank you.
The worst situation right now involving that tanker fire at the Golden Glades interchange is traffic. We're told that it's going to be backed up for quite a while, folks. Both northbound lanes of I-95 and the southbound lanes of I-95 are being diverted in some cases to the Palmetto Expressway. As far as injuries are concerned, we really don't know yet. We'll have more information as we look at these live pictures and we take you to a commercial of which we'll see you on the other side of.
7 News brought to you in part by Toyota. Toyota every day.
Everybody was pretty drunk.
A limo full of loaded ladies.
He left us girls stranded. Who cares?
Judge Judy. Tomorrow at 4 on 7.
Talking about a painful disease that's often misdiagnosed tonight. Thousands of people suffer from it, though.
We're talking about Crohn's disease, but health specialist Marilyn Mitzel shows us how a bacteria may help conquer Crohn's in tonight's Doc Talk.
When Dan O'Brien was 12 years old, simple movements like this were impossible.
Yeah, I was at a party with my friends, and I was trying to tie my shoes, but it hurt so much to bend over, I had to have someone else tie them for me.
Take a deep breath for me, Dan, okay?
Dan has Crohn's disease, an inflammation usually seen in the small intestine. Doc Talk expert pediatric gastroenterologist Athos Bousvaros says these are the signs you should look out for. Pain in your lower abdomen or joints, diarrhea, weight loss, fever, as well as rectal bleeding and sores. When first diagnosed, Dan weighed just 54 pounds and was smaller than his younger brothers.
Okay, 126.
3 years later, Dan's weight has doubled.
Initially, Dan underwent surgery to control severe Crohn's disease, and subsequently he's been put on 2 drugs to prevent relapse of his disease.
Let's see what they look like.
In addition, Dan's in a study to test the benefits of a beneficial bacteria.
It's a good bacteria that's found commonly in the intestine, but you give it in increased amount.
Patients take 2 pills a day. Doc believes the bacteria in each pill displace other less desirable intestinal bacteria.
And it might even become first-line therapy for relapse prevention.
We won't know the results from the study Dan is in for another 2 years. If you have a serious medical problem, check with your doctor. But if you think that we can help, call 305-DOC-TALK, or you can log on to our website at WSVN.com. I'm Marilyn Mitzel, 7 News.
And other stories that we're going to follow from the Newsplex, the very latest on what's going on off of the Golden Glades interchange. Look at this fire. That's what it looked like about a half hour ago after this tanker caught on fire. It was involved in an accident with 2 other vehicles, a van and a car. We'll bring you the latest on this story.
Also tonight at 10, College Bowl action hits South Florida tonight. Highlights from the Micron PC Bowl next in 7 Sports.
7 News, brought to you in part by your local Lincoln Mercury dealer.